Empty cities, when China's megametropolises lose steam amid population decline. In Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, symbols of relentless hustle and increasing number of bleak scenes now appear. Empty train stations, sparse traffic, and for rent signs hanging everywhere. Some joke that commuting during rush hour now feels like going 2 hours early. Subway riders can easily find a seat, and central intersections no longer teem with throngs of people. This is not simply a matter of a slowing economy. Beneath these coinciding signals runs a quiet but long-term current. China's population is shrinking, aging rapidly, and internal migration patterns are reversing. These forces intertwine like threads, sapping the vitality of the megacities that once attracted migrants like magnets. On January 17th, China's National Bureau of Statistics announced that the estimated population at the end of 2024 stood at 1.488 billion, a drop of 1.39 million compared to the end of 2023. The natural growth rate was about -0.99, meaning the population continues to contract. This is the official picture, a mild decline, but on the ground reality feels far sharper. A flood of viral videos shows empty storefronts, discounted apartments still struggling to find tenants, and subway seats available even at rush hour. Bloggers ask, if the overall numbers are only slightly down, why are the population hotspots cooling so fast? The point is less about disputing figures and more about highlighting shifts in distribution and weakening consumer confidence. Beijing, from packed to plenty of seats. The situation in Beijing stores now, too few people, begins one clip, filmed at a subway entrance. The author notes only a dozen people per car, and points out rental housing at $270 a month that still goes vacant. Filming a downtown intersection, he says, "It's past 5 p.m. This place should be jammed with cars and people. Look now, almost no one. For rent and transfer of lease signs cluster on buildings once deemed golden property. Even Daxing Airport's touted as a symbol of modern infrastructure reps in complaints. At 45 p.m., the halls are sparse, duty-free shops lifeless. Some blame its remote location, others the economic climate cutting flight schedules. Either way, the trend is clear, dwindling crowds." An office worker recalls a meeting at Beijing World Trade Center. "The elevator took me to the 31st floor, no one on the entire level. Back in the lobby weekend, yet empty like a ghost town." A 24/7 convenience store near a large residential block reported revenues plunged after the holidays, staying open 16-17 hours a day, but barely covering costs. Even food delivery workers, since abundant and energetic, feel the squeeze, with 6,000 yuan a month, rent, utilities, and food wipe it all out. To many couriers, brutal competition, nothing to save. Many decide to return to their hometowns after a grueling year. Shanghai, less buzz by night, fewer workers by day. "There is no longer a Shanghai night as before," wrote one vlogger, pointing to streets once crowded until late. He shows thinning evening crowds. "Daytime is no better. Many companies have returned office space. The building I work in is at least half empty. Along shopping streets, 1 in 2 storefronts carries a transfer sign. In some cases, 3 shops in a row are now reduced to 1. The rest subleased to cover expenses." Rental vacancies in residential areas have climbed. Prices are forced down repeatedly. Shanghai's once expensive and scarce real estate offices and apartments is less expensive and less scarce. Consumer growth shows negative numbers for months, except food, with anxieties over jobs, credit card debt, children's tuition, and elderly care, who still feels like splurging at night. A defensive mood spreads. Fewer outings, fewer purchases, more savings just in case. Guangzhou and Shenzhen, 2 poles, same trend. In Guangzhou, wholesalers lament far fewer bulk buyers. A milk tea shop owner says every month breaks even or loses slightly, with only holiday spikes bringing relief. Traditional commercial hubs look desolate as online shopping takes over. Shenzhen, the land of opportunity, shows similar cracks. Many ground floor shops carry for rent signs. Fresh graduates crowd into logistics, delivery, and part-time gigs, while office jobs rarely pay as expected. I sent hundreds of resumes with no replies. A finance major complains. Ambitions remain, but the path is longer and competition harsher. Second and third-tier cities, more birds than people. It's not just the megacities. Second and third-tier cities since lifted by the Big Four now slump in unison. In Chengdu, one landlord listed 3 vacant apartments in the same complex, discounted but still waiting. In Wuhan, even major metro transfer stations have seats at rush hour never seen before. A viral clip notes, Xi'an, Shenyang, Changshan, and harbor knots bustling with tourist shave cooled rapidly after short-lived peaks. In rural towns, one video shot on the 8th day of the Lunar New Year shows the whole village is deserted. Only birdsong, cultural halls, and playgrounds since lively during festivals are nearly empty this year. Doors locked, youth absent. Only elderly and children occasionally pass by. The deeper currents: fertility, aging, migration, fewer births, later marriages, high child rearing costs. Post-pandemic, risk aversion grew stronger. Housing, education, and healthcare costs in big cities deter couples from having children. Fertility policies encouraging 23 kids cannot reverse the trend while economic social roots remain. Rapid aging, the share of young workers falls. Median age rises. Replacement slows. Consumer demand, especially for nightlife and luxury, shrinks. Demand for healthcare and elder care grows, but these do not revive the buzz of streets. Internal migration reverses. With fewer opportunities and rising costs, outmigration rises. Some return to hometowns for family-based livelihoods. Others move sideways to cheaper cities. Core cities lose the demographic fuel that powered their dynamism. Jobs transform. Slow growth means tighter corporate budgets, layoffs, hiring freezes, short-term contracts. Fresh graduates face too many applicants to few good jobs. The lying flat mindset spreads, with many adopting minimalist lifestyles and reduced expectations. Housing and commerce, the domino of fewer people, more vacancies. As foot traffic declines, every square meter that once held premium value in the city begins to lose its advantage. Offices return their rented spaces, pulling down auxiliary services with them. Restaurants, cafes, and convenience stores see fewer customers. Apartments remain vacant despite landlords cutting prices, offering incentives like 1 free month or waive service fees. Yet tenants hesitate, uncertain about their jobs. Shopping malls lack visitors, while shops cannot shoulder rental costs, leading them to close down or scale back. Smaller supply chains, fresh food vendors, last-mile logistics, cleaning contractors, elevator maintenance, Lowe's orders. The ripple effects stretch further than any single video can show. Rising commercial bad debt, excess inventory, reduced work shifts. Even ongoing projects find their investment return equation tightening. Data and debate. Perceived numbers versus official numbers. Some online accounts throw out shocking estimates of pandemic-related deaths or disappearing population figures that are nearly impossible to verify independently. Meanwhile, certain public indicators such as quarterly cremation statistics in some provinces have disappeared from regular reports, fueling suspicion. The most reasonable stance is distinguish between official statistics, academic estimates, and personal testimonies. Acknowledge the limits of transparency without leaping to absolute conclusions. Observe on-the-ground signals, vacancies, traffic volume, retail turnover as supplementary indicators. The uncontested truth remains. Urban vitality is indeed fading regardless of how large or small the aggregate number is. Micro stories, macro picture. Law student in Shanghai, starting salary 2,500 yuan, but after social insurance and rent, almost nothing is left. A subway commute costs 12 yuan a day. How do I eat? She still pays insurance to qualify for her licensing exam, but every month feels like a math problem. Convenience store owner in Beijing. 8 years open 24/7. After the holiday, Even with 16 to 17 hours of operation daily, revenues no longer cover costs. Regular courier customers complain, 6,000 yuan a month. But nothing left to survey him heading back home. Small eatery owner in Guangzhou, revenues decline steadily, with only holiday peaks offering a temporary lift. Rent is cut by subleasing half the floor space. Landlord in Chengdu listed 3 units in the same block, lowered prices multiple times, yet only scattered inquiries. Renters prefer metro-adjacent, flexible contracts, and softer rates. Migrant worker in Suzhou, factory runs at half capacity, shifts rotate with compulsory off days. Hourly wage stands at 13 yuan, and just enough for instant noodles. Retiree in Harbin, tourist season gone, the streets are quiet. In the past, poor groups came every day, now almost none. With children working away, the elderly keep watch over each other. Individually, these anecdotes cannot capture the macro. Collectively, they build a vivid micromosaic. Fewer people, tighter wallets, contracted demand. How population decline hits the living infrastructure. Public transport, lighter rush hour loads. Some lines cut frequency. The challenge is to maintain a minimum schedule to avoid a vicious cycle of fewer passengers leading to even fewer services. Education and healthcare. Elementary schools merging classes due to lack of pupils. Geriatric wards filling up. Long-term care burden rising. Real estate and planning. Excess office space shifting toward apartments. Affordable housing near public services becomes priority. Nightlife, shrinking not merely because people don't want to go out, but because opportunity cost has risen. Financial safety now ranks above social experiences. The study work-live triangle, circles that don't overlap. At the heart of the empty streets problem lies the triangle of 3 circles. Study, higher degrees no longer guarantee jobs that meet expectations. Work, attractive positions are scarce, competition intense. Employers favor experience, while short-term contracts rise. Live, housing costs eat up most income, cheaper rents lie far from the center, demanding long commutes. When the 3 circles fail to overlap, many choose either to leave the city or to lie flat, accept low-pressure jobs, live frugally, and scale back ambitions. A healthy society needs a share of risk-takers to drive entrepreneurship and innovation. When aspirations shrink, experimental energy dries up. What answers for the half-empty cities? There is no magic wand, but some solutions are feasible if pursued with consistency. Flexible household registration and public services loosen hukou in substance, so migrants gain access to schools, clinics, subsidize housing reducing short-term and out cycles, affordable housing and office conversion, fast-track mechanisms to turn unused offices into decent housing, encourage long-term rentals at fair rates, reduce the psychological burden of home ownership, targeted family support and fertility incentives, child care subsidies, public nurseries, flexible work hours, lower after-school costs so having children is no longer an impossible equation. Quality jobs, prioritize industries that generate stable employment, invest in reskilling, reduce over-reliance on real estate, ensure transparency in government procurement so small firms can compete. Night economy and community culture. Instead of keeping lights on, organize small, low-cost, local events, weekend markets, food festivals, street performances spark demand in safe, affordable ways. Transparent data, regularly release demographic figures, housing inventory, and transport volumes. Restore discontinued indicators like cremation statisticsnet to stir panic, but to build policies on solid ground. Is this the twilight of megacities? Not exactly. Cities are living organisms that shed their skin and renew themselves. But this cycle is a hard one because all 3 forces of moment-to-mutual demographics, income expectations, and affordable living costs are simultaneously weak. The key lies in the long tail of demographics. When there are fewer children and more elderly, the consumption curve inevitably shifts. Cities will become less about explosive growth and more about care and maintenance. If the basics of life, housing, education, healthcare become less burdensome, then the cycle of renewal will spin again. But if the risks continue to be pushed onto households, the cycle slows. Fewer births, less spending, weaker investment. When footsteps grow fainter. In one sense, subway cars with empty seats are a signal. The rhythm of life is slowing. Sometimes slowing down is healthy if it allows rest and restructuring. But when slowing means losing people, losing confidence, and losing opportunity, it is a warning that cannot be ignored. Videos of deserted train stations, sparse airport halls, shuttered supermarkets, and stores up for transfer are merely sensational headlines. They are emotional barometers of residents, anxiety about jobs, caution in spending, hesitation about family futures. When personal accounts from Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen echo the same themes, we must read them as systemic signals. Population decline itself is not terrifying if productivity, welfare, and urban services can adjust in time. What is terrifying is the evasion of data, the delay of policy, and the scapegoating of those who film and tell the truth. A city needs people before it needs concrete. It needs trust before it needs slogans. What do you see in these empty frames? Do you see an irreversible decline? Or a turning point that forces us to think and act differently? Share your perspective. The clearer our view, the greater our chance of choosing wisely so that buildings do not merely stand, but are filled with residents, with laughter, with life.